All right, so hopefully after the intro music and listening to Chewie talk there for a minute, you guys hopefully have caught on to the fact that we're going to be talking about Star Wars: The Force Awakens this time.
Awesome.
So this is one of the movies when it first came out last year, December. We were contemplating then if we should break away from the horror theme for at least one episode to talk about it. But we kind of went back and forth on it for a while, and then it just came out on DVD a week ago. And so then we were both finally like, oh, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Yeah, we do. This is such an incredible movie. There's no way we could pass this one up.
So the first thing I'm going to say right now, if you have not seen this movie yet for whatever reason, you need to turn the episode off now.
And go watch the movie.
Yeah, because we've been trying not to do the whole spoiler thing as much lately, but we're probably going to give at least some spoilers away from this movie. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back and listen.
Yeah, we're definitely going to spoil this one. Yeah, this was an excellent movie. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. You know, I don't even remember being alive and Star Wars not existing. And it's probably because, well, it came out not long after I was born. So it was always there. From my earliest memories of being a kid, I had like Star Wars action figures, and now I've got like even more Star Wars action figures than I had when I was a kid. And I mean, I'm a Star Wars fanatic. I collect all the figures and the toys, and got all the movies. Seen the movies multiple times. You know, I saw The Force Awakens 4 times in the theater, and you know, I had it waiting for me in the mailbox the day it came out on Blu-ray.
Yep, I was the same way. I saw it 4 times in the theater as well. And then I was one of the lucky ones, and I pre-ordered it and got it in the mail before it was technically released, but not too much before. It just was released on last Tuesday, and I got it the day before. I got it last Monday.
Yeah, that was a cool little surprise. I was hoping to come home and see that in my mailbox, but didn't happen.
Yeah, it happened to a few people. I was watching I saw on like Facebook and like Instagram and stuff, a few people that I follow actually got it like on Saturday. So I think it really depended on where you lived at. Because I know I had pre-ordered mine from Best Buy, and it was shipped out of Kentucky. So if you lived right near wherever the shipment place is at in Kentucky, then you probably got it because it shipped out on Friday, and then I know like a bunch of people were getting it on Saturday. So.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, like me and you were talking about this actually yesterday, and I came home and I knew I was like following the tracking information on it, and came home last Monday from work, was laying on the table, walked in the door, ripped the box open, ripped open the DVD case or the Blu-ray case, and threw the Blu-ray in and pressed the play button and like had it on while I was like making dinner and, you know, stuff. And once the movie was over, then popped that disc out and threw the special features disc in and watched almost all of the special features that night. And then what we didn't watch that night, we watched the next night. But that Monday we watched Star Wars from like 4:30 till like 9 o'clock.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, as soon as I got it, I actually went out the weekend before it came in and bought a whole new TV just to experience it with a bigger screen than what I had originally in my living room. So that's how desperate I was to see this movie again in a good viewing. And yeah, I tossed it in the night I got it, watched the whole thing, you know, and well, actually, the first time I watched it, because I had to go to work in the evening, so I kind of just skipped through and watched all the good stuff. Like, oh, yeah, there's that lightsaber fight. Oh, yeah, here's that part. Oh, here's when Han Solo is revealed. Oh, yeah, there. Okay, and then I watched all the awesome scenes, and then when I came home, I think I watched the whole movie.
Gotcha.
And I was like, yeah, this is great. And I've been wanting to watch it again. I just haven't had time to sit down and watch it.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I I was really surprised because, you know, I liked the prequels. You know, I watched every prequel I saw multiple times in the theater, and at the time when I saw them, I liked them. I enjoyed them. I even enjoyed the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And my favorite of the prequels was Revenge of the Sith. But going back now, when I watch the prequels, I understand why people there's a lot of criticism about them. I mean, the acting is a little bit, it's not that great. The dialogue's kind of weird. But then especially when you compare the prequels to this new one, The Force Awakens, it's like no comparison. I mean, The Force Awakens, in terms of dialogue and acting, is top notch. I mean, and the directing, everything. I mean, that film just works. I mean, every scene, my eyes are glued to the screen. And the cool thing too about the Force Awakens is that the new characters, Rey, Finn, Kylo Ren, even Poe, I enjoyed them. I really liked them, and it's a hard, and I liked how they mixed the new characters with the old ones, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker. I thought it worked great.
When I first saw Phantom Menace in the theater, and I've probably seen that one the most out of the prequels. I saw that one multiple times in the theater, and then even a couple of years ago before Disney bought Lucasfilms, and if you remember this, they were going to come back through and remake everything in 3D, and they made the Phantom Menace in 3D and released that one, and I went and paid the $14 or whatever it was and watched it in 3D. But when I originally saw it in theaters, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Me and my wife had just gotten married. And not that was anything to do with Star Wars, but, this was in 99, and it was like, oh, this is cool. This is so great. And then about probably like a year later, I think when it first came out like on video, and then I like watched it again, and then I was like, oh, this is really kind of like almost like a kid's story. And then when the second one, Attack of the Clones, came out, watched that one the same thing as you probably saw it a couple times in the theater. That one I never really hated. It's not that it's that great of a movie. That scene with Natalie Portman where she gets her shirt like half ripped off and she has like her midriff showing and stuff, that's a pretty good scene. But I love Natalie Portman. Revenge of the Sith came out. I actually was one of the people that went and saw the midnight showing the night before. It was a horrible idea because I was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed. And then
right.
went to Walmart like at 10 or 10:30 and bought like a bottle of No-Dos and took a couple of those, and then bought this was in whenever that would have been 2004, I think, and grabbed a bottle of like Rockstar or something, so that like one of the early energy drinks in the U.S.
Yeah,
and slammed that thing, and then was like had this weird like wide awake but like super tired state of mind throughout the entire movie, and then as soon as the movie was over, because the movie theater's only like 4 blocks away from my house. Like, walked home and went to bed and went to sleep, and that's the only time I've ever seen Revenge of the Sith.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And I liked it when I saw it because that scene at the end of the movie in the lava pit.
Yeah.
That's always been how I pictured that kind of to be, because if you ever read the novelizations of the original Star Wars movies, I think it was in the novelization of Empire Strikes Back, where it talks about Obi-Wan Kenobi killing Anakin in the lava pits.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
So I always thought that was cool to see that. But yeah, you jump 12 years later or whatever it is, and then you finally get this new sequel to the series of this movie that me and you both watched when we were little kids. I mean, the same as like you had said, I don't remember a time without Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember being a little kid and playing with the action figures and stuff. And I remember my cousin I think he had a TIE fighter, and I think he had, like an AT-AT or something. But I remember he had the Millennium Falcon, and I never had like any of the really big toys for Star Wars. I always had the big toys for G.I. Joe for some reason. But I always remember, and it's kind of the same thing with you. I don't ever remember not having Star Wars toys, even as an adult.
Yeah, I always had Star Wars toys growing up. Yeah, I had, pretty decent collection as a kid. I didn't have many of the big things. I think the biggest thing I had was the Ewok Village and the X-Wing fighter. Now that's a whole nother story though. I've got like closets filled with bins of nothing but vintage Star Wars toys. And I've got some new stuff too. Yeah, it's always been a part of my life. So this storyline, is just always been like such a big part of growing up. I mean, Luke Skywalker was probably my first like hero, like the character I looked up to, like wanted to be. I mean, I remember running around the neighborhood. You always had a Luke Skywalker kid or you had a Han Solo kid. And thankfully my neighbor at the time, well, he was a Han Solo guy and I was a Luke Skywalker guy, so it worked out perfectly. We were neighbors. Every time we played Star Wars, I had my Luke Skywalker figures and my X-Wing fighter, and he had Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon, and then if we played where we were the characters, he was always Han, I was always Luke. Worked out great. So, actually, Luke Skywalker being my favorite character of all times in the Star Wars saga, and he's actually my favorite action figure, too. I have four of the original Luke Skywalkers from the first movie, and then I've got, of the vintage figures, I've got the Empire Luke as well. I've got all the Lukes. Every version of Luke I've got. When you see him, and again, we're talking spoilers here, so Luke Skywalker is in this movie, so just letting you all know. And when you see him for the first time in the film, like literally, like I had like goosebumps, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because it has been since 1983 since Luke Skywalker, the character, was on screen, and there he was, and it's like, wow, here's this guy that I remember I watched him, get trained by Obi-Wan Kenobi, then get trained by Yoda, and then find out his father's Darth Vader, and then have a lightsaber fight with his father, and then defeat the Empire and Return of the Jedi, and then bring his father back to the light side. So that, this whole his character was completely wrapped up in the original trilogy, and now how many years later here he is, and it's like that he's going to go on another adventure, and there's this whole new thing he's got to be part of. And with the First Order, which actually the First Order, which is the new version of the Empire in this movie, in the Force Awakens, I was kind of like, how are they going to do the bad guys? Because like you go back to Return of the Jedi, and the Empire was supposedly wiped out, and everybody, it was gone, and the Emperor was gone, Darth Vader was gone, so the dark side was pretty much done. And I'm like, how are they going to bring back the like some sort of villains for this movie? And with the Force Awakens, what we basically have is the new version of the Empire, which is called the First Order, and it's just like the Empire, you've got stormtroopers, and they're actually individual people who are kind of, I thought this was cool too, where they're sort of like Finn, which is one of the main characters. He's like a stormtrooper that goes rogue, and he basically tells briefly his backstory that he was basically kidnapped from his family and then sort of brainwashed to become this soldier. And very much, and they really kind of play off the whole Nazi thing, like with the salute and everything, and the commander being real, just a complete a-hole, and he's a jerk and all that stuff. And two, did you catch the part where Kylo Ren, who is probably my favorite character of the whole movie outside of Luke Skywalker, he's talking to General Hux, who is like one of these new, Imperial, well, he's First Order general, and they're talking about, he's like, we should start doing the clone thing again. I thought that was kind of cool. Kind of linked it back to the prequels, but so yeah, these new stormtroopers are basically just like people that are kidnapped from their villages or whatever, and and from birth they're from childhood on they're trained and brainwashed to be these new orders or first order soldiers.
So we should probably go ahead and just kind of take a step back to the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah.
And touch on one of the topics that kind of was somewhat of a hot topic when this movie first came out. And we should probably go ahead and talk about this as well. And that is the fact that it seems with this movie, and this kind of holds true, I think, with any time there's a new reincarnation of any real popular movie series or TV show or band or whatever it might be. But when this movie came out last December, it seemed like there was this whole divide amongst the fans, and there's a group of fans that are over here on one side that are like, oh, it's a remake of A New Hope.
Oh yeah.
And then there's all the fans over here that it's like, oh, well, it has a lot of similarities, but it's a really good movie, which is what I think where me and you stand on it.
Yes, absolutely.
So the whole movie is based off of, the storyline is 30 years after A New Hope, and it kind of starts in a similar manner to as A New Hope. We are introduced to Jakku, this desert village, or not this village, but this desert planet that when the movie first started, I was like, are they actually doing this on Tatooine?
Yeah,
because that would have been kind of cool. But anyway, it turns out that they weren't on Tatooine; they were on Jakku. And, kind of one of the running gags at the beginning of the movie, which actually have a T-shirt that says this too, is "Gotta get back to Jakku."
Yeah, right.
But
right.
So they start off in Jakku, and then they end up in space for a while, and then they end up. And this is one of the cool things with this movie was not only did it kind of take elements from A New Hope, but I really thought it kind of took elements from all three of the original movies. So you ended up in wherever Maz's castle thing was at, and it was this real forest planet, kind of like Endor a little bit, which was kind of cool. And then when you were just talking about the New Order, they were stationed on this. Well, it wasn't the Death Star. It was like this whole planet, the Star Killer thing.
Star Killer, yeah.
And there was, when they were on that planet, it was this whole winter frozen thing, kind of like Empire, which I thought was kind of cool. So, I mean, if I was to say, when I first saw this in the theaters, the very first time I saw this in the theaters, I kind of was saying some of that to myself.
Mm-hmm. When
it first started, I was like, oh, is this going to be a remake? And then, it got a little bit into it. I'm like, oh, no, this isn't a remake at all. This is totally cool.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and that was one of the big criticism of this movie is it's not original. It's basically they took A New Hope and they used that template, okay, and they just put, and worked off of that. And I can see that. I understand that, and okay, so you've got the desert planet, the main character is on a desert planet, finds out that, they go on an adventure, and then they end up, having to blow up the Star Killer base, which is basically just the Death Star, triple the size or whatever. And so I understand all of that criticism, but I'm gonna what I say when it comes to that is basically this movie is like the beginning of a new chapter with new characters in a new trilogy of Star Wars movies. And yes, they take things that are very familiar and they put it together, and they take, but to me, it was original enough where like all these new characters, you got Rey, Finn, Kylo Ren, and all of these characters that are introduced, and then you've got the old characters, and it works to put it in like that same kind of framework. And the way I look at it, like, I'm a big fan of the Rocky movies. I mean, my gosh, all 6 of the Rocky movies, and then 7 if you want to include Creed, is the exact same template. It's with just some different changes. You and I obviously are horror movie fans, and the Friday the 13th movies. It's the same thing, all of them. The Halloween movies, for the most part, and this is Star Wars number 7, and this is like the introduction of a whole new trilogy. Yes, of course they're going to take familiar things and put it together and give you a story, that we're familiar with. I mean, if it was too weird, we probably wouldn't like it. So it had everything, to me, it had everything that felt like Star Wars in it, and then it had a whole bunch of new stuff that made it even better. So I had absolutely no problem with that whole, comparison to A New Hope. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, the one thing, and we'll go ahead, I think we'll go ahead and throw this right in the middle of the episode here, because this will tie in perfectly with this, is just a couple of days ago, the new trailer for Star Wars Rogue One, which comes out in December of this year. And if you haven't seen that trailer yet, go watch it. And if you're not aware of what that is going to be a spin-off of the Star Wars main storyline that we're used to, the Skywalker storyline. And Rogue One is going to be a prequel to A New Hope. And I don't know if they actually have an exact time table, like public timetable yet, like if it's really known how far in advance to A New Hope it's going to be. I've heard a couple of rumors on it, like one said like, oh, it's going to be like a couple of years before, and then others have said like, oh, when Rogue One ends, that's where A New Hope begins, kind of thing, which from the trailer would make sense, I guess. But anyway, me and you, I think, both had kind of a similar reaction when we watched the Rogue One trailer, and that was like, oh, this seems very familiar, but this isn't quite the Star Wars that we're used to.
To me, I watched the trailer and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll probably watch it, but I'm not counting the days.
Right.
And I guess it looked okay. I mean, it might be great. It might be a great movie. I don't know. Nothing in it was so incredible that I was like, oh gosh, I got to see this movie. Now I am excited about Episode 8, which follows up this Force Awakens. But yeah, Rogue One, I'm kind of just like, come December, I'm sure I'll see it.
When the Rogue One trailer came out, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, it looks okay, but what it is. But when I was watching it, after I watched it like 2 or 3 times in a row, and I started thinking, and I was like, you know what? This movie here is the exact reason why a lot of true Star Wars fans hate the prequels. And it's because, at least this is my theory on it, and it's because there's not anything really necessarily linking it to the original Star Wars in terms of being real familiar with it. And what I mean by that is when we saw the trailer for Episode 1, when you saw that very first teaser trailer and the whole thing, you're like, oh, cool, the Millennium Falcon. Oh, cool, those are X-Wings, even though they're black. Oh, cool, TIE Fighters, even though they're black. That's kind of cool. And then the very last scene of that opening or that teaser trailer is Han and Chewie walk through the door on the Millennium Falcon, and Han goes, "We're home."
Yeah.
And I know that myself and a ton of other people went, "Holy shit, Star Wars is back!" That's insane.
Yeah.
And so when the new trailer came out, and it was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. Like, oh, they brought back the old stormtroopers. That's cool. Oh, and there was like some similarities or some like callbacks to the old movies. Like the one lady with the red hair, wearing the white gown, Mon or whatever her name was.
Mothma or something like that.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure I saw Darth Vader's like shadow or something in
Yeah,
one
I heard
of the
he's in
scenes.
like a new trailer too.
And then whatever the commander on the Death Star, Tarkin or whatever his name is, he's
Right.
in it.
Grand Moff Tarkin, yep.
But there wasn't the whole there was no Leia, there was no Han Solo or anything like that. Even though in the original movies we had C-3PO and R2-D2,
Right.
but I don't think, people connect with those two characters like they do Luke and Han.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you have some weird droid person out there that has like some. I want to be R2-D2 this time.
Right. Yeah, I think this movie it looks okay. Like The Force Awakens, the storyline, how it continues on, 30 years after the original trilogy, and where they take the characters, just to me, it's just absolutely fascinating. I cannot wait for Episode 8. And I will say, like, probably my favorite new character out of the new group of the young kids playing these new characters is the Kylo Ren character. I was wondering how they were going to pull this off, because Darth Vader is iconic. You can't, you're never going to have a bad guy quite as iconic as Darth Vader, even in a Star Wars movie. Even no matter how good, I think just Star Wars, hit the originality of Darth Vader is just it's just too much. So what they do in this new movie is they make a character who is a wannabe Darth Vader, knowing that they couldn't quite top, they're never going to have like a character that's quite as interesting as the original Darth Vader. So this whole Kylo Ren character and where he's at and who he is and his family heritage and what his plans are and what he's doing, every time he's on screen, mask on, mask off, my eyes are glued.
Yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do with him in like Episode 8. I thought what they did with him through the movie and then at the end of the movie, I thought was really smart in a way, because I think it goes back to bringing that kind of feel of the old into the new, where his all black and his having that mask on, and his mask, even though it wasn't an exact duplicate of Darth Vader, when you see it, you're kind of like, oh, okay. It kind of gives you the feel of Darth Vader a little bit. But then at the end of the movie, at least we're led to assume that he left his mask or his helmet or whatever you want to call it in the base when he went out into the woods. And then, Rey, at the end of the movie, spoiler, destroyed his lightsaber and then, slashed him across the face.
Yep.
So I almost wonder if he's not going to, maybe in the future episodes, if they're either going to just update his outfit or his costume a little bit.
I think they probably will.
But leave his mask off, because I think him having a big scar across his face would be kind of cool. And the mask for him, it's not like a life support or anything. So, other than I know the stormtroopers wear masks, but
yeah, he was. Yeah, it wasn't like Darth Vader where he's like wearing it to keep alive. And I think they'll probably upgrade his costume throughout the series, because I think, from my understanding of this first entry, like his look was kind of like was supposed to kind of give off the feel that he's kind of coming up with a new design, and it's sort of all his thing. Like he created the lightsaber, he created the mask, and he's sort of like doing like sort of an homage to Darth Vader, and he's trying to kind of give off that feel. And I think probably, yeah, like you said, because he leaves the mask off and then loses the lightsaber. He's probably going to have to get some sort of new look for the next one. Then again, I think like, well, would they want to recreate the character, the design from scratch like that, or do they want to keep like the same look for the whole trilogy? But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I can't imagine like Rey's going to be wearing the same desert clothes.
Oh no!
In
Yeah.
the next two movies either.
Yeah, she'll have like some kind of like what are they, resistance uniform or something, that kind of, or like some pre-Jedi outfit.
Maybe she'll get tied to a post in the next one and get her like midriff clothes ripped off too.
That could be.
You never know. A guy can only wish.
Yeah, I heard too that like a lot of people are speculating that in this movie she uses a staff as like her main fighting tool. And a lot of people are speculating that she's going to have a double-sided lightsaber like Darth Maul from Phantom Menace because of that. So that'd be kind of cool.
What would you say, aside from Kylo Ren, of this movie was like your highlight of the movie?
Well, I think outside of Kylo Ren's character, I think there were two highlights that had the most emotional impact on me. And I'm going to go into spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen the movie, well, you shouldn't be here like we always tell you, so go somewhere else and go watch the movie, for gosh sakes. This is Star Wars. So anyhow, I think the death of Han Solo was one of the most impactful scenes, and it was so needed. Because you need like that kind of weight for this movie, where a character of that status is killed, and it absolutely, and being that Kylo Ren is his murderer, who happens to also be his son, and it also means that he, that's basically the Force awakening in Kylo Ren. It's like the dark side of the Force. It's such a powerful scene that now for the next two movies, we're always going to think of him as, the guy who killed Han Solo. And it happens to be his son. I think that's one of the most powerful scenes in the film, and it really just takes the story and deepens it more than like almost anything else in the film. I thought it was brilliantly done. The whole bridge scene, it's coming, and it just works so well. So I would say that would be my first scene that I think it's just absolutely great. Then the next part that I thought was incredible was the final final scene, the ending, when, again, spoilers, so go under your rock or wherever you want to be. The end when the whole movie is about looking for Luke Skywalker, and I love it that they make it sound like Luke is some sort of a myth. Like everybody, all the new characters, they think of Luke Skywalker as like, oh, is he real? Oh, I thought that was just some kind of myth that they told us about, But we, as the audience, know exactly. We went through the whole experience with Luke Skywalker from the meeting him to watching his, him training and being in the worst place of his life in Empire Strikes Back, and then his, redeeming his father in Return of the Jedi. So we know the whole story. And then finally, at the end, the whole movie, which all leads to finding Luke Skywalker, we see Luke Skywalker. And to me, that scene is so... To end on that, that's absolutely sheer brilliance, in my opinion, of the writers, to keep Luke left for the end of the film. I think they did such an incredible job. So those two scenes, Han Solo's death by Kylo Ren, and the final reveal of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I would say with the one thing with the Han Solo death in this movie was when I first saw it, and you get like probably 2/3 into the movie, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, God damn, Harrison Ford is in this movie a lot. and I looked, or my wife was with me, and I kind of like, he's in this movie a lot. And then it just dawned on me, oh, he's gonna die. He's totally gonna die. They're gonna kill him off. There's no way that he's in this movie this much and he doesn't die. Because, like, Carrie Fisher's character was in it for a couple of scenes, and up to that point, we're still waiting for Mark Hamill to show up. And, so, yeah, when he died, like, that's still a powerful scene. And it, even now, after seeing it like 4 or 5 times, I'm still kind of like, oh, okay, it's coming. Ugh. I don't know if I want to watch it again, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Powerful stuff.
That was a good one. I really like that scene. I would say, too, one of the other, like, even though it's maybe not that powerful for a lot of people, but when the First Order hunts them down and finds them at Maz's palace or whatever, and they have that big battle scene afterwards, and Kylo Ren takes Rey aboard his ship and then takes off, you know, and Han's sitting there watching him do that, and then you have this carrier thing land on the ground, and it opens up, and out walks General Leia. And, you know, those two characters meet up again for the first time, and we don't know how many years at this point. We still don't know, even after the movie, how long it's been. But I thought that was a really good scene. I will say the end of the movie was great to a certain extent, but at the same time, that final reveal of Luke Skywalker at the end of the movie is the one complaint I have about the movie.
You didn't like the reveal of Luke Skywalker?
I did like the reveal of Luke Skywalker, but next time, JJ, can you tell Mark to close his mouth when... Because that was my only thing with, you know, he turns around and he lifts up his hands, and he has the one regular hand and the one robotic hand, and pulls back his hood, and you're like, oh my God, it's Luke! They found him, he's alive on this island, that's cool. And then he's just standing there, and his mouth is open, and he's just like, for 30 seconds, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I love that he doesn't say a word in that final scene. It's just like the look in his eyes, like, you know, I've been out of this for so long, and here you are coming to me, and you want me to get back in the adventure. I loved it. I loved it. I cannot wait to see what Luke Skywalker is like now. You know, I heard too that like one of the things in like the behind the scenes stuff is that they talk about is how the storyline basically came up. They came up with the idea that, you know, it's going to be about a girl and how she hears about Luke Skywalker, knows he exists, and wants to go find him. And we all, as the audience, know who he is and everything, and like we know who the character is, and it's about her adventure to go find this character. And you know, so they kind of had that whole idea for a long time. And I had heard also that originally Luke Skywalker was a bigger part of the script, and he was going to be you know, more involved in the different scenes. And they realized that, you know what, we can't do that. We got to pull back. We can't put Luke Skywalker in these scenes because we need the audience to get to know the new characters. Because if we have Luke in there, all they're gonna want to do is see what he's about. They're not going to care about, you know, Rey, and they're not going to care about Finn, and they're going to care about all these new characters. If Luke's there, they're going to be like, well, let's see him fight with a lightsaber. Let's see him do this. So they were, I mean, it's great thinking, in my opinion, to kind of keep him to the end like that. But his reveal to me was like so iconic. Even though his mouth was open, he had that like Obi-Wan, like he's like he's this older, wise guy, who's been through all this stuff, and here he is again after all these years, and they actually brought him back. And I don't know, it was so cool.
I did read somewhere like early on that he is or was the same age as Alec Guinness during the filming of this movie. So
I know, that's crazy.
But speaking of that final reveal scene, I don't know if this is real or not, but I saw it the other day online. There's a picture of Daisy Ridley and like Mark Hamill's like on her back, like recreating the whole Luke and Yoda like training scenes.
Nice.
And it's like in a parking lot or something somewhere. And then of course there's a whole bunch of memes made of it.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I did like the end of the movie. That was my only complaint. Like, and it's still every time I see it, I'm like, oh, close your mouth. You look like a dummy with your mouth just like standing open, just like, you kind of like turn around like, huh? What's going on? I don't know why. Every time it just cracks me up when I see it. So we both love Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
Yes, we do.
So if you haven't seen it yet and you listen to this whole damn episode, don't be surprised. Han dies. Luke has no lines.
And he has his mouth open through the whole scene.